So here's three things I just thought. I jotted down just kind of as a side note here. So what we want to avoid in conversations, we want to avoid using intent-based sentences. We want to start shifting over to impact-based sentences. So that's number one. Here's another thing I want you to avoid: deflecting. Deflecting. If you're saying anything like, well, you yell at me too, or you make mistakes too, you're not perfect either, that's all deflecting. So if you catch yourself saying any types of sentences like those, jot them down. We got to work on those. So we don't want intent based. We don't want deflection. We don't want over explaining. Over explaining is another area where sometimes the unfaithful partners kind of get caught, right? But what's really happening is that the how statements, the justifications are coming out. When you over explain something, it comes across to the betrayed as you just, verbal vomit, we call it, right? You're just trying to find something that sticks. You're throwing everything at the wall and trying to see what sticks. If you follow the vowels, you won't go into over explaining. You're going to acknowledge, you're going to have empathy, you're going to say, I'm sorry, you're going to own it, and you're going to give some sort of an understanding. You're not going to go into over explaining. So we want to make sure that you are not having intent-based statements in your conversations. We want you not to deflect. We don't want you to over explain. And the last thing is, we don't want you to go silent. This one is really, really hard, but going silent is actually very dangerous to the betrayed partner's brain. And I want to explain why that is. So when we kind of started living in groups, right? I'm going to go back a little bit to kind of the evolution of the human, right? When we evolved and we started living in groups, the group became the focus. And if you were excluded from the group, your chance of death was through the roof, because the group together is what kept the people alive, right? If a predator comes in and you've got 50 people in the camp all ready to go, ready to kill this predator, this animal, bear, whatever, woolly mammoth, whatever was going on back then. When you've got something like that and you've got, a lot of people, your chances of surviving this attack from this animal is really, really high. But if you're the only one fighting the animal, your chance of surviving is very, very low. So isolation is really a big threat to all of us. It's why, and I talk about this a lot in the webinars, but it's why solitary confinement is the worst punishment you can give a human being. It's not just because you don't want them around their friends. It's not just because you don't want them causing trouble in the gang or whatever. Solitary confinement is the worst punishment you can give a human being because it's isolation. Now, you can isolate somebody in your own home. You don't need a jail cell. When people go silent, well, let's say somebody's talking to you and you're just sitting there silent, that's isolation. That's dangerous to the brain. It's triggering that I'm not safe. I'm being abandoned by my tribe, by my group. And now my chance of survival is like plummeting. So it's a very primal thing for us as human beings to not be isolated. So when you go silent, it's a form of isolation, and it's going to trigger a stress response in your spouse. Now, I know it's not easy. I know sometimes it's just better just to sit there and not say anything because you have a fear of making a mistake. I get it. But if you follow what we talked about today, and if you bring in the vowels, and if you don't minimize, if you don't deflect, if you don't over-explain, and if you don't come at conversations from an intent focus, then chances are the conversation is not going to go sideways because you're leaning in. You are focused on the impact. You're using the vowels. So, but you have to practice this. And it's not gonna happen, overnight. Remember, the betrayed partner has, well, let me put it this way. You, as the unfaithful partner, you have to show up consistently over a long period of time in order for the betrayed partner's nervous system to deem you safe, to believe that you are now safe. So, this isn't going to, like, you're just going to do this one time and everything is fine now. You have to keep practicing this. You have to keep showing up, keep using the vowels, keep the impact at the forefront of your conversations, not the intent, not what you meant, not what you thought, but the impact. Keep that at the forefront of your conversations and bringing in those vowels. And you will, if you do that consistently over a long period of time, they will make a huge difference. So that is intent versus impact, and then a few little keys about what to avoid.